Now here's the next piece, and this was a bit of a challenge for me. I got the values in shape for me. Then I realised that I had to find a way to articulate that and deliver that to those I led. And that came down to character. What should my character be? Now again, I went off and read books and tried to work out what that looked like. And I've been speaking on leadership for a decade. But it still made it difficult for me to try and put those things into word. How do you carry yourself? What are you supposed to do as a leader? You're supposed to be strong. You're supposed to be, loud, whatever. Out of the 11 different companies I've owned over 25 years, and even being the former global president of the Entrepreneurs Organisation, leading some of the smartest guys and girls on the planet, I've learnt more about leadership in the last 3 years and character in leadership in the last 3 years than I have in my entire business career. And I've done it as a father. I'm 51 years of age. I'm in a very fortunate position where I get to spend a lot of time with our children. We have a very young family. We've got 2 young daughters. Our youngest is 18 months, Charlize. That's my little family there. Our youngest is 18 months. That's her. And the oldest is coming into 4 in March. That's Bailey. Bailey has been the person who has taught me pretty much everything I need to know about leadership. And for the parents in the room, you'll probably understand this. But let me kind of meld those two words together. Let me blend business and life to give you how this worked really well for me. So Bailey comes into the world. I'm an older father, set in my ways, used to doing things, and all of a sudden now we have this extra body in the family, which is challenging for me. And I start learning new things. What have I got to do to try and get her to do stuff? How do I get her to do things? And over the course of 3 years, I've come up with this little thing, and I call it my EIEIO of leadership. That's her favourite nursery rhyme. Let me share it with you because this is important. Because character doesn't have to be a word. Character can be a philosophy, in my view. Here's the first of the EIEIO of leadership. E is for engage energetically. Engage energetically. See, as leaders, we've become lazy. We send an email, great job. We send a text, well done. We might even pass in the corridors and go, yeah, it was good, mate, fantastic. But how often do we actually get out of our office, walk down the corridor, open the door of someone's cubicle and sit there and say, fantastic, you did a really good job with that client. That was a really fantastic marketing idea you came up with. How often do we shift energy in the room in that engagement with those we lead? Look what happened just then. In the brief moment that I walked off the stage just to have a conversation with you down here, how did the energy change? How have we got lazy? Think of what you do in a day when you're trying to engage and energize people in your business to get them to do stuff. Think of your teenage children. This is a classic, isn't it? How have you got teenagers? Yeah? Okay, a few of you. How often have you rung them on the telephone? No answer. Goes to voicemail. 10 seconds later, you get a text. What do you want, Mum? Right? Well, this is the challenge we have. We've got to try and engage these people energetically. The Gen Ys, the millenniums in the world, we need to try and get them back into this energetic world so we can get them to move. If I want Bailey to find her shoes, I cannot sit on the couch and say, Bailey, go find your shoes. I have to get up off the couch and start the looking process. I have to get the energy moving to have her go, oh, it must be important. He's moving. I'm better to move too. It's exactly the same thing with those we lead. What have we done to get a little bit lazy, and what can we do to fix that? This is the first philosophy that I have in the EIEIO of leadership. Next one is this. I is for inspire greatness. It's one thing to say good job, but it's nothing to say what's next. How do we get the individuals we're leading to want to improve themselves, to want to seek personal development, to want to be better tomorrow than they are today? How do we get them to say, go find your shoes, great job, now go find your socks? It's pretty simple. How do we inspire that greatness? I used to play rugby union and I left school. Now, for those of you that don't know rugby union, it's a bit of an underground sport here. It's a version of football where you've got 15 grown men on either team, no body armour, all looking to kill each other. It's very, very full-on contact sport. So I was relatively good at this, and in fact, used to play what you would call an all-star version of that in Australia. Just one day, I was playing a match, and we were playing against France. These guys went on to win the World Cup a few years later, so they were big, big team. I'm sitting there, I'm like 19, and I'm looking across at this guy we'll line up against him. He's like 450 pounds, and he's screaming at me in French. And all I could think of was, this is not going to end well. And it didn't. He came at me, knocked me out. First contact of the game, on my back, knocked out. I got the team tapping on me going, come on, you've got to get up, you've got to get up, you've got to get up. And the team coach screaming from the sidelines. We got absolutely belted that day. Absolutely belted. Absolutely, like 75-0. We were never going to win the game. But you know what? It was the best game of football I've ever played in my life. And in fact, the last game of football. Because I figured I was never going to get any better than that. That's as good as, we're the Australian selectors on the sideline. If I wasn't going to play for Australia, I was never going to get any better than that. Fast forward 15 years, I'm talking to one of the Australian coaches who was a legend. I won't bore you with details of it. I just said to him, he said, you played football? I said, yes. He said, you played representative football? I said, yes. He said, what was your best game? I was telling him that this game against France, it was fantastic. My last football match, the best I ever played. He said, well, tell us about your coach. I said, you know what? The funny thing was, we were going to get killed that day. We knew we were going to get killed, but we all walked out in that field thinking that we might just have one chance. He said, he was a good coach, wasn't he? I said, yes. But I've never been able to work out why. He said, because he inspired greatness. He made you feel proficient at what you did. I said, yes, he did. He said he gave you autonomy so you could make decisions on the field in a split second and not feel like you're going to get in trouble for it. I said, yes, he did. And he said he made you feel like you belonged to a team. I said, yes. We're out there getting absolutely belted, but knowing that we were standing together as 15 guys. He said, yes. That's what makes a great coach. That's what makes a great leader. He inspires greatness. Think about that. How often was the last time that you put your guys onto the field knowing it was going to be tough, but having them feel like they're 10 foot tall and bulletproof? That's the I of EIEIO. Next one is this. Evoke conscious thought. Evoke conscious thought. Now, over the last couple of years, we've all heard this term, thought leader. You've got to be a thought leader. I did an interview in a magazine a couple of months back, and it was about thought leadership. And I said, can you call it something else? And she said, why? I said, because I don't believe there is such a thing as a thought leader. And she said, I don't understand what you're saying. I said, I don't believe that a single individual leads a business on their own through their own thoughts. They are not thought leaders. And in fact, I believe they are more speed leaders. And she said, what do you mean? I said, a speed leader evokes conscious thought in others faster. Think about that. Evokes conscious thought in others faster. If you've got 4 people in your office, then you've got 4 more people that can be contributing to the common cause and the commercial intelligence of your company. 4 more people. I failed school. I just snuck through high school. Just snuck. Didn't have the grades to go to university. If I am the smartest person in the room, I am in the wrong room. I am dead set in the wrong room. Every single person in our organisation had a degree, was smarter than me, and that's exactly the way we planned it. All I needed to do was evoke conscious thought in others, to inspire them to actually think laterally, to do new things, to be great, and use their brains, because mine wasn't big enough. How am I going to get these guys moving? You think about it. We all look at the likes of Steve Jobs, for instance. Steve Jobs. Do you know the greatness of Steve Jobs doesn't actually lie in his great thoughts? The guy who designed this, the guy who designed the iPod, the iPad, a fellow called Johnny Ive. You don't hear about him much, but Steve Jobs inspired Johnny Ive to think differently about creating these products that you now know and love today. If Steve Jobs couldn't have got Johnny Ive to create these products and evoke conscious thought in his head, they would never have happened, because Steve Jobs didn't have the skills. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. We look at Gen Y and we look at the millenniums and we just look across the table and go, you blood-sucking oxygen thief. They have great ideas. We have to unlock them. We have to allow them to think consciously, to be open, to be lateral, and to contribute. That's the E in EIEIO. Next one is to involve everyone. Now, we've heard this before a lot. Involve everybody. Collaborate. Let's get on the same page. Wouldn't that be good if we were collaborating and, all getting behind this project? Collaboration is another word that I think has kind of lost its equity in recent years. We use it a lot, but it doesn't actually mean a lot. And it's because we don't often think of who we are collaborating with. We don't understand them. We don't understand their journey. We don't know how to talk to them. In fact, we talk at them. Gen Y, millenniums, baby boomers, people that are either side of your age demographic, how are you talking to them to have them collaborate with you so you are in fact really involving them? Because see, interpretation is the enemy of collaboration. Interpretation is the enemy of collaboration. Let me give you a very, very weird example. When Miley Cyrus gets naked and licks a hammer, to Gen Y and the millenniums, it's music and art. Yep? When I do it, I get kicked out of Home Depot. See the difference? The interpretation is entirely lost in a Gen X. Or actually borderline baby boomer. My point is this: seek to understand before you underestimate. Look for their journey. What do they want out of life? What are the things that are going to really hit their hot buttons? Because then we can really involve them and really get them behind the cause. Then you have unity and collaboration. Last one of EIEIO is this: how do you organise you first and then others? Organise you first and then others. I have a wonderful friend and a fellow called Don Wilson, a name you wouldn't know. Don was the former global vice president of McDonald's operations. In fact, he joined McDonald's when they had 18 stores. 18. Legend. He opened McDonald's in Australia as the chairman. He is the dean of Hamburger University. He is the person that's responsible for, would you like fries with that? Amazing gentleman. I have dinner with him every now and then. I did a television documentary on him a few years ago. I love his company. One night after the second bottle of red wine, I said, Don, give me the gem that's going to change my life. Just like you guys want. And I know 50 minutes ago, you're looking up here going, come on, ball guy, impress me. I said, Don, tell me, what's going to change my life? He said, you know what? Greatest leadership lesson I ever learnt was I never ask anybody to do anything I have not already done myself. I never ask anybody to do anything I have not already done myself. That doesn't mean I've got to do it all the time. It doesn't mean I've got to do it for them. I've just got to prove it can be done. Because then I have the authority to say, yes, we can do that. Yes, it works. Yes, it's okay. So when you're asking your guys to be more efficient, more effective, how is your efficiency and effectiveness? Are you as effective as you can be? Well, I work 3 days a week because I jam it in. 15, 20 years ago, I would waste 25, 30% of my day. And in fact, on a survey I did of myself, I wasted 32% of my day fluffing around, doing stuff that wasn't productive. I get it done in 3 days because I get it done. When I'm on it, I am on it. When I'm off, I'm off. But my efficiency and my effectiveness shows others in our organisations it can be done. You get your stuff done by 4 o'clock on Thursday, take the extra day off. I do not care. You don't get it done, you're going to still be here on Saturday because I've proved it can be done. Organise yourself first and then others. So if you want to call a staff meeting or do something like that, be the first there. Be the most organised there. Don't be the guy or girl that walks in late. Don't be the guy or girl that cancels it. And don't be the guy or girl that just doesn't turn up at all because you didn't think it was important, because that's exactly the message you send those you lead. Organise yourself first and then others.